God damn it, IGN. Hey guys, welcome back. So, the other day I released a video regarding the IGN article on Jaga Urdamnai and the Banished. Well, we got a bunch of new campaign footage videos from both Gamescom and IGN. So to keep up with the general routine, I'm gonna break down everything we've seen from all of these campaign footages we've seen from Gamescom and IGN. For those of you who have been following the recent videos I've been posting, this will be covering only Banished related topics. So if you guys want a full breakdown of these videos, I encourage you all to check out Halo Canon and Hidden Xperia. But anyways, let's begin. So in IGN's first hands-on video preview of Halo Infinite's campaign, we've seen quite a bit from this video. First off, we get a brand new cutscene of Escharum seemingly arguing with a Banished lieutenant. I can't make out what exactly they're arguing about, but judging by some of the lip sync, I believe that they're talking about Aatrox in some way. Probably on where he is, or if he approves of what Escharum is doing right now. But in the opening of this campaign, it shows that Escharum and Jaga Urdamnai are having none of it, and Jaga is threatening this brute with the tip of his new energy sword. For those of you who watched my Jaga Urdamnai information video, it's stated that Jaga and Escharum are actually close friends. At first I was a little surprised by this, but judging by what we see here, I can definitely see that. Moving on, we have what appears to be an introduction to Escharum in the first campaign mission, where he says,
I am Escharum, War Chief of the Banished. This is my world now.
Whew! My god, that is a very intense opening to the War Chief. And you can tell by the way Chief looks here. He looks isolated and actually a little afraid. As the video progresses further, we get a better view of Aatrox as a hologram here, and he's holding Chainbreaker. I think it's safe to say that Aatrox isn't exactly present on the conflict at Zeta Halo, but this is more of a propaganda recording of Aatrox. And it looks like we're present on a Banished ship, which I'll cover in more detail in the Game Informer video. But anyway, let's move on. When the Chief is progressing through what seems to be a Banished salvage operation on a Banished ship, he comes across a few grunts, and they say,
"Humans would never fight grunts like us. He's here!"
Oh, I love the grunts. I just really love them. And it's interesting to note that these grunts share the Halo 5 voices, as opposed to the classic Halo CE and Halo Wars 2 voices. It's a subtle nod to Halo 5, which I greatly appreciate. Another scene with Chief progressing through the Banished ship, we get a somewhat of a clear hologram view of another Banished ship. This is the same ship we've been seeing thus far throughout the numerous Halo Infinite campaign videos. I've said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. I believe that this ship is a carve from Shadows of Reach. But I digress. To close off the first hands-on video preview, we get another shot of the mini-boss that we're gonna have with the brute Tramanus. And according to the video, he's gonna be a handful, especially on Legendary. Now that we finished off the hands-on preview, let's go over to the campaign discussion. In the campaign discussion video, we get more gameplay of Chief fighting within the Banished ship. And it's really cool to see the Banished aesthetics, especially with the Banished symbol, along with other interesting sigils. There's nothing really much to say about these symbols, other than what I said before, given that they might be Banished clans or Legion symbols. Next up, we see the weapon activating a Banished terminal, where Escharum gives off something of a speech, or maybe a threat to the Master Chief. Hard to say which, but like I said before, I love Escherum's graphical upgrades. This is a major improvement to what we saw in 2020's demo. But let's continue. Next up, we see Chief fighting more Banished and freeing some UNSC survivors in those energy bindings that we saw in the campaign overview. Like I said before, I'm very curious to see what the Banished have in store for these UNSC survivors. Next up, we get another shot of Chief fighting Tramanus, this time wielding the Stalker rifle. When the guys at IGN used the soccer rifle, they describe it as something of a cousin to the carbine. That's very interesting, given that the soccer rifle seems to be the Banished version of the beam rifle. But I'll have to use it firsthand when the game launches. But let's move on. Next up, we get a cinematic intro to Dramanus with his jetpack. And here we see him wielding a Hydra. I'm very interested to see how this guy is going to use the Hydra in the game. And on a side note, I love his armor. It's very Urukai-like, and I absolutely love that aesthetic, especially with the Banished. It definitely looks like they're taking cues from Halo Wars 2, and also giving it their own spin on things. Next up, we get our first gameplay look of the Mule. Like I've said before, he looks amazing, and I love this design for this new grunt. It definitely screams Banished for the young boy. And here, let's break down what everyone is talking about right now on Twitter. The return of the Skirmishers. Yep, you see that correctly. The Tavawans are finally coming back to Halo. Oh my god, this is a welcoming change. I did not expect this at all. The Skirmishers have been sadly absent from Halo since the days of Halo Reach, and that was over 10 years ago. Thank you, 343. Thank you immensely for returning these favorite jackals of mine, and I am fully excited to fight these guys. Sure, they can be annoying gameplay wise, but I just love the Tavawan look. They're easily my second favorite Kigyar design, apart from the Ibishan, which sadly isn't in the game. So when Chief is fighting off a few elites and jackals in what appears to be a Banished airbase, we get something of a clear look at the Sangheili Major. There's not really much to break down, but I really dig the design of the armor. And that wraps up my thoughts on the IGN side of the Halo Infinite's campaign information. But let's now shift to Game Informer, and they have some interesting stuff to break down. So let's move on. So in Game Informer's first look at Halo Infinite's campaign, we get a lot of interesting Banished stuff here. We get some clearer looks of the Banished grunts and jackals, and their armors just look great. I definitely dig the Imperial grunt looks here. Not sure if they're actually called Imperial grunts in this game, but we'll have to wait and see. As we mop up the grunts and jackals, we face off against several elites, and here we get a better shot of the Major. He's not too much different from the Sangheili Miner next to him, but he shares the Halo Reach officer helmet and the shoulders. I definitely dig the classic red design for these armors as opposed to several of the complex designs we've seen in the past. But let's continue. Next up, we see several Banished drop pods exploding and ejecting out Banished Berserkers. And these guys seem to be tearing through the UNSC survivors we rescue. But just as the Berserker is about to charge at the Chief, he deploys an energy sword. And I think this is our first clear view of the new energy sword. And I kinda dig this new energy sword. It definitely invokes the Halo CE look. And it's somewhat transparent. Most energy swords we've seen have been solid plasma, but here it looks more translucent. And I kinda like that. Next up, we get more gameplay of the Stalker Rifle, and it definitely displays more Covenant text rather than Banished looking aesthetics on the scope. And we get another shot of the Tavawan Kigyar. There's really nothing much more to say about that, except I'm just so excited to see the Skirmishers returning. That wraps up Game Informer's first look of Halo Infinite's campaign, but here, let's move on to the exclusive coverage trailer. And here we get a fully upgraded version of Escherum's speech that we saw in 2020's campaign demo. And like I said early on in the video, they really improved Escherum here. I mean, let's compare the two graphics. You can tell there's already a drastic improvement in the facial features and the facial hair. I mean, the texture of his face is just gorgeous. And his scarred face and eye, oh my god, it just looks amazing. And in this trailer, we get a new shot of the Hunter. I've said this before in my campaign overview video, but I just have a problem with the look of the Hunter. I mean, the Halo 5 armor looks great. I just have a problem with the color. I'm just not a big fan of the CE colors myself. I definitely would have preferred it had they sport Banished aesthetics as opposed to what we have now. But then again, that's just my opinion. And that covers all the new campaign stuff we were shown yesterday. After watching these videos, how psyched are you for Halo Infinite? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time guys, may the eyes of Aatrox and Eshram be upon you all.